Let's see here. What is it today? Today is Thursday, September 28th, 2023, as a frame of reference. We're going to be joined by owner and founder of Rewind Grading, a company that grades both VHS and cassette and CDs, music and movies. Grader of music and movies. Good friend Dan Allegra is going to join us. Let's see if I can bring him in here. Just like the old days. Let's see if maybe we can get Decaps even to join. I don't know. Decaps is usually the one requesting this stuff. Fish, what's going on, buddy? Cheers to everybody. Happy Thursday night. This is in lieu of my usual unboxing because I've got too much stuff everywhere. What's up, Robert? How are you? Did this work? I don't know if it worked or not. How do you buy an IG? I guess the same way that you buy in on Whatnot is you swipe right. Nobody seems to be able to do it there, so why not do it here, right? It's the same thing after all. What's up, ball boy? How are you doing? Happy Thursday. Cheers to everybody out there. We might be having some technical difficulties. Is unable to join. Okay, that's not good. Let's try this again. Did that work? You're on Drake 4. That's awesome. There we go.
There we go. Let me fix my screen.
I see this message across the bottom. It says Dan64 is unable to join. I'm like, that's no good.
Yeah, this is Dan 65. So I'm back. How you been?
Busy, man. Just freaking. I always say no rest for the weary, right? I know.
No rest for the wicked.
Either wicked and weary. When you I worked I would never say a 9 to 5 in New York. There's no such thing, but I worked a day job or whatever for many years, and
I'm sorry.
I always knew it would be a lot of work to do your own business, but I just never considered how much work it could be to sell video games.
Especially right now, it's not exactly the easiest of. But if you do have good stuff, Actually, this last week I wasn't trying to sell some stuff, and I found some games, some new homes. So the right stuff always sells, I feel like.
I've sold some stuff recently that I kind of regret selling, that I think I'm going to regret selling for a long time. You get to keep certain stuff, and you don't get to keep other stuff, no matter how much you want it. That's ultimately what it boils down to.
Yeah, I had a friend. Once a year he'd hit me up about Kirby's Dream Land 3, and I had one, and a really nice one. And he hit me up just a few days ago and just wanted to buy it, and we got to a very fair price for both of us, and found a new home for it. He was going to be the end user for years to come, so I was happy that he, I was like, it doesn't mean a lot to me. I, made a little bit, and
right.
He found a home, and I was glad that he kept hitting me up every year, so felt like I went to the right place.
Well, the thing that I like to remind people, and I think, some people look at just, they see a down economy and collectibles having taken a hit over the last year and, wondering if it's going to last forever. And I like to tell people, when markets are down at first, people panic sell and they get rid of stuff that they've held for a really long time. And stuff ends up in there, it's, quote unquote, forever home. And when that happens, you don't get, it doesn't come out until you hit like a multiple of, 10 or whatever. So, as things like this start to get consumed, like I've heard the VHS market, for example, like going back up. I see even used tapes. You guys don't do CIB, right? I guess we should, guys. We should start. For anybody who doesn't know, this is Dan, co-founder or founder and owner, co-founder, whatever, of Rewind Grading, and they do all kinds of media. So
yeah, we do VHS. sealed and open, and we do beta, we do cassettes and CDs, and later, hopefully by the start of the new year, vinyl and laserdisc. So,
I
um,
saw that on your website. I was checking it out. You get your website looks amazing, by the way. If you guys have
thank
not gone
you.
to the website, go to rewindgrading.com. The website's amazing, very easy to navigate. I submitted myself; it was great. But I just checked it out again. It's amazing.
Yeah, I didn't tell you actually. I sent you something earlier today that should be there next week.
Oh, oh, that's
So
exciting.
yeah, so we'll wait till next week, but you'll see because I want you to. I don't think you've seen the cassettes in hand, so I sent you one, so you could get a taste.
I haven't. And then actually, when I was on the site today, I was looking at it. I'm like, I don't have any cassettes to submit, and I know you're not doing open ones yet. So I actually, it's funny. I have a lot. I probably have some cassettes from when I was a kid, and I have probably my whole CD collection, but they're all open,
Do you
so they're
still
not
have the
worth
CDs in
anything.
like a booklet, like the big booklet or
So I
the
got,
visor?
those 20, 40 discs holders. You put, you slot them in or whatever. And I've got my, because I did BMG and what was the other one? The one that everybody used that not Columbia
Columbia
Music.
House.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the two big ones, and that's like with music, it's fun to kind of like no one knows like I'm not gonna say like values are going to go up, whatever, but like what's the value of a club edition compared to a retail version, and like all that stuff's kind of fun for me to kind of like I have my opinions, and it's fun to try to kind of pave my own way, and other people pave their
I mean,
ways of how they like to
I would
collect.
assume anything that went through one of those clubs is going to be worth drastically less because there were so many people who did that.
Yes, I agree. It's gonna be, but what part is it? 50%?
Unless
Is it
there's a
70%?
rare thing that you can't find any of in any case, and then it's like, anything goes.
Notorious B.I.G. I mean, the Ready to Die. It's one of those ones. I think if you can find a club edition, and
Right.
you find in any edition, it's
Hmm.
great. And some club editions have barcodes, some don't. So how does that, you know?
Well, it's like this. I mean, this sells. This game sells in player's choice copy. It's the same thing with video games that relate it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like people want it. So Mario
I like
Kart like
because you
sells
have a
in player's choice.
94. I have like a 6.5 of that. So
This one just sold. That was what I was talking about before. Like sometimes you have to let go of certain things even if you don't want to.
yeah, you can't hold on to everything. And I always look at
You
with a
know,
lot of collectibles, which ones are going to stay with me to the end of days, and which ones are not. And then I try to remember that, if I don't get rid of it, someone's going to have to do it after I die. So there's always a rotation. I like your rotation here because I love looking at it was the Chippendales too. I saw
yeah,
before.
that's what I was trying to catch it before it went all the way around. Now you got to wait for it to come back.
I
This
got one
guy
of
just
those.
came back.
Yeah,
This is the first time I've seen a Game Gear game graded by WADA. Super, super happy to. This one came from a case that I had. Last one I had.
I
I
just
sold the
actually
other ones.
sent them to two of those Game Gear games. But
Yeah.
another
So I
grading
gotta, I
company might
gotta.
have gave me really low grades. I want to see what they would do.
I'm tempted to send Chippendales back to get recased in the new case because I like it so much. Actually, it's funny because the new case looks a lot like yours, which I think before yours launched, I'd seen prototypes of both, and I was like, I remarked on how similar they were, and it's because you guys both did such a good job of re-engineering. I mean, I don't hate the old case, but compared to the new case, it's junk.
Mhm.
Like it's just, this is such a better design. You guys, let me show you know what, let me grab sorry, I should have grabbed my do you have any examples you want to show off of the case of your
I got a few cassettes here. I mean, I think I have a CD over here too, but you know, I don't have a. I'd have to go find some VHS, but um, yeah. So it's made of that polycarbonate. So if you haven't seen it on YouTube, if you type in rewind grading, you'll see us run over our VHS case with the truck, and just to kind of show that we built it to kick some ass. So it's funny because I don't worry about our cases falling. Some cases fall and break. You're like, oh shit, these you can huck. I want to get a Major League Baseball player to throw our case against the wall because I
so
do
that's
think it
that's
might survive.
Outcast.
Yeah,
That
this is
looks that's hot.
Synconia.
Synconia?
Yeah, so has a cool
That's
hype
hot.
sticker up here, and that's yeah, it's kind of been fun, and it's not. It's relatively
Is that for
cheap to
sale?
kind of. Uh, we'll talk after. um, I'd probably not, but because I just love how it looks. This is kind of like what I considered my first one I got in hand.
Well,
So this one actually
that
won't
would
be.
be
But
that would be a good one for my first cassette tape, because that would be that's
well, I
an
did
album
send you
I
one as a
personally
gift.
love.
I sent you one as a gift, so that'll be your first one. But maybe
Okay.
we'll look for your second one. But to me, it's just kind of cool. A little bit nostalgia hits, and everyone, you everything has music involved, and to me, like cassettes are cool. I'm not saying like to the moon or some shit like that, but I personally love collecting these.
Some stuff.
Um,
I mean, I could see some stuff going to the moon. I mean, some stuff will be, if it's a first release, if it was first released on cassette and that was the first format that it came out in, and that was like the first print of the first release, that will always have value no matter what it is.
I agree very strongly with the part that you mentioned. If it was released on cassette first, and that's to me like that's really important for
Right.
collectibles is how did people experience it. If it was on
Right.
cassette, it's gonna have a better um, it's going to have more nostalgia, more meaning that it came out on that platform.
Right.
So, yeah, and that's where soon we'll do vinyl, and it's going to be fun to be able to do all of music for the most part, and see people kind of pick their path. It's not there's no wrong way to go about it. And if people never collect music, that's cool too. It's about giving people options that they can buy a few and not have to go down the rabbit hole all the way. They could just buy something
I
they
think it's
enjoy.
funny though, because with grading vinyl, I think you're going to open more of a rabbit hole that's already there that doesn't necessarily get talked about. But just like in video games, there's a big division between sealed vinyl collectors and open. And most people are like open vinyl collectors. But if I
Yeah.
collected vinyl, I'd be collecting the sealed shit. So
Well,
like that pisses a
vinyl's
lot of
nuts
people
that
off.
way.
What?
Vinyl's insane that way. Vinyl's like insane that way. Where like not even in there yet, and we have people like, well, how do you listen to it? I'm like, you're not getting the point,
How do you play it? Like it's
Yeah.
always the same question. How do you play it? And I'm like, you download a fucking emulator after you pay $14,000 for this.
To me,
Like,
isn't it cool that it hasn't been open and like shouldn't it like stay not open if it has been open for 30 years?
of
Vinyl's a little bit
course,
tricky because there's so many reissues, but also that there's a lot of fakes out there. I do want to say
sure,
that with vinyl. I've gone down that rabbit hole
sure.
for a few years now, and you'll see them on eBay like, oh, there's some sealed ones on eBay's, but there's quite a few that are not legitimate. Shitty people are everywhere, right? So I don't say that to like scare people into grading, but it has to be said because
Do you have
it's
any?
important.
Do you have any crazy sealed vinyl? Like anything like just like astronomically expensive?
I don't really have anything. So vinyl's kind of funny because they don't have those. There's a few like sales that went nuts, like John Lennon's copy, his personal copy of something, or this or that. But vinyl, like top end sales up till like a year ago, they were like 5 grand
I'm
would be the top end.
sure if you've got like a sealed first print of like a Beatles record or something.
Yeah, I mean they're not as bad as you would think. Like Abbey Road, back like a year ago, a first print was. I would ask around. They're like, "Oh yeah, I used to sell it for about $1,300." I'm like, "What? Like
But
thirteen
that's
hundred bucks?"
open, right?
Like,
Or
no,
sealed?
no, no, sealed. And I'm like, "Wait, what? First print?" I'm like, "That doesn't make sense." I find that music. Don't take this as investment advice. I'm not trying to do that or pumping it, but music to me is highly underappreciated for when it comes to compared to the other pop culture because we look at what does the Beatles, Rolling Stones, Elvis all mean compared to Mario, Superman. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still collect comic books. I still collect video games,
Let's not
but
compare
like,
to video games. I feel like the thing about video games that I always gave the notch to video games is the fact that it's interactive.
mhm.
Unlike anything else, you play with it the way it plays with you. That's not like you can't say that about music, comic books, or anything else. That's always why I've been super passionate about video games. It's kind of a crux of my thesis. But
Well, I think video
compared to
games.
other stuff, like I get it. Like
Yeah, no, the thing with video games that made it very special is that sealed game is what you had and how you experienced it, right? Like you got that game, you couldn't go back and play it again for
right.
years. Like you had to have that game. I think with music and vinyl, there's gonna be a little bit of that because that's how people really experienced it. But yeah, you can stream it anytime, and there's a lot of other things. But I do think,
We live
people
to,
with
yeah,
there's gonna be first print Rush albums. That's what someone mentioned Rush. There's gonna be, I mean, and honestly, those things have been what I would consider very underappreciated, and because when you would buy sealed, like I know in the last few years I've bought, try to learn everything else. A lot
right.
of the sellers go, "Do you want me to open it to check the variant?" I'm like, "No, please, no." Like, it's
Well,
because they call them audiophiles, and I support anyone that loves listening to music. I mean,
listen, but
I've
that's the same thing in video games. Like games were meant to be played, like that. Well, music was meant to be listened to. But you don't have to listen. You can download a high resolution, high version of this. But just circling back real quick to what you were talking about before. The thing about music is the strong emotional connection it forms with people, and even though it's not interactive in the same way as games, people form a strong attachment to it, and it's generational, meaning like even though Elvis is not as popular as he was, then people still listen to Elvis. People will always listen to Elvis. There will always be Elvis fans because his music will always have some amount of relevance because someone will always like it. It's so popular, like Michael
yeah.
Jackson and these other artists. So there's something more than just there's a lot of intrinsic value if you have something that's rare and represents that connection.
I think what I love to do sometimes. I'm in a restaurant. Look at T-shirts that people have on. A percentage of them have band T-shirts. Dark Side of the Moon. Uh, well, yeah, everyone has
D-Rob
D-Rob
Gaming.
Gaming.
Hopefully
Yeah, of
everybody's
course.
wearing D-Rob Gaming, but
Especially, yeah, everyone in the New York area has that. But
trying.
like you look around. I mean, you listen to every commercial. It's music. It's a lot deeper. I think than a lot of people realize how deeply entwined music is. And I'm not saying that to put one above the other because I will forever not sell certain games and stuff. But I definitely think music's kind of gone underappreciated for a long time, and I think it's gonna be fun to kind of give it some appreciation, not just values, but kind of being like, hey, here's a first print Elvis record, like a first print. As far as I know, the first print is it's a misprint of a 7-inch. It's all right. The misprint like $4,000, and there's like less than 100 known or something stupid like that. Now you compare that to any other collectible. You're saying Elvis first record.
Well,
Misprint, maybe 500 printed. I don't know, but
compared to something like that, but not like, rarity. And that's why I keep saying video games, video games, video games, because the rarities compared to your 100 compared to like comics, like there's 3,500 copies of Turtles 1, the first print of Turtles 1 that are out there. Like, that's not a huge run compared to other things, but you're talking about 100.
yeah.
And then with video games, we're talking about like
Well,
five. Like,
yeah.
you know,
I mean, that's the thing is, I just think it's underappreciated. I'm not trying
yeah.
to say it should be worth any more than it is. I just think, hey, it's very interesting. I've always enjoyed vinyl's always been kind of something that I collected, but the high end seem very scary because you're like, people have been in this for a lifetime. They must be like, But the thing is field vinyl has been very just underlooked, and it's a fun thing, and that's where going down the CDs. I don't think CDs are gonna really catch on for like 5 years. That's the thing that's like music CDs.
Got to be something rare, though, man. It's got to be a first print, and it's got to be rare for something to be really.
You
Because
think that?
everybody, there's so many CDs out there.
Yeah, I just like here's a Eminem show CD, and it shouldn't be worth more than 200 $100. But to actually find one that originally sealed and stuff, with the title strip and whatever else, with the right hype stickers, people
Right.
are gonna want what they got in their Christmas stockings, right? Like
Yeah.
they're gonna want what they had as a kid. So again, I'm not
Well,
saying that's gonna be like
again,
Chippendale, but
first prints and first releases that are rare, people will want even if they didn't have. Like if
exactly.
you love Eminem and you can get the first, it's not the real, what was the Slim Shady was the first LP. If you can get the first print of the first one, and I don't know how rare that is, but like let's assume it's super rare, and you get that, it can be worth millions, right? I mean, it's all about conditions and circumstances. Like,
Yeah, I mean that Infinite record that just Golden put up was his first album that kind of was thing, and they had it signed. It was from his manager's collection. It went off at like 60
Is
or
that like
70.
a pre album to like his first mainstream album was Slim Shady or no?
That was the first mainstream. Before that, he released Infinite, and even before that, he was in a group called Soul Intent. But that's we'll see how that. There's there might be one coming to market in the next few
Did not
weeks. Doing
know that.
but
Interesting.
it's really fun to just see how people collect and how they respect it. And like video games. I mean, we're still so early in video games to see it play out.
Yeah,
When you go into something like comic books have been before I was born. People have had collections, Action Comics #1 and stuff like
yeah.
that make grails beyond grails. But video games are so young, and a lot of these things are very young. So I will never speak absolutes when it comes to any of these collectibles.
I
But
mean,
I just think,
people had grandparents who were collecting, comic books. People had grandparents who were collecting baseball cards, even though it wasn't popular. But there were people
well,
out there doing it.
when you got to the '70s, collecting became a little bit more normal, and that's where.
But I mean, even so, you still had offshoots. You still had like, quote unquote Uber nerds who would collect stuff anyway. You really didn't have that with video games for the most part. I mean, I know only like very, very isolated cases of anyone collecting a video game sealed. Like open, like people collected stuff they played, sure, and they can. And I know people with OCD that kept their stuff in really good condition, but I don't know anybody who like really collected stuff, sealed until like 2000 and after 2000 anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree 1,000% with that because the cost was so much. Like, these things are
Yeah,
worth $60 new. Why would you hold on to one?
yeah,
Usually there's a crazy cool story behind it. But
yeah,
there is stories, and the thing is, the people that might have done it, we probably won't see their collections for 20, 30 years because
yeah.
video
Until they
games are
die.
so early. Yeah,
Until they
exactly. Well, I
die.
mean, what's that comic book collection, the Promise collection, that one of the biggest comic book collections ever discovered was just recently discovered in the last 10 years. Comic books have been around since 1937, 9 or whatever. So,
Sure.
it's really cool to see. I just, as you are, I'm just such a fan of collectibles and totals. So it's fun to see the cycles, and
Yeah,
it's fun to see what people gravitate to.
it's more fun to
Yeah.
see the upswing, but like
Oh yeah. Well, you got to be in the downswing to recognize when you're in an upswing.
well, you got to be
Like
in a downswing to be buying. This is the time to be buying, right? Like you want to buy in the downswing, you want to sell in the upswing.
I, I'm someone that I always like to say, sell what you don't like of yours and buy what you do like. Like this would be a good
Sure.
time if you're looking for a grail and you could afford it. It gets to a price you could afford. It's a collector's market, in
Yeah.
my opinion at least. And
It's definitely a
um,
buyer's market. It's not a seller's market at all. But that's great because we get new people in and we get dedicated people, really stepping up and getting some of the grails that they've been missing out on. And it kind of works for everybody to some extent.
yeah, that's someone mentioned the word collector's market, and who the hard people that are really true collectors are more the people that are buying right now, and it ends up in collections that they're not going to move for a long time, which is a
I
good
call
thing. I
them
mean,
black holes. I call them it's black holing. True.
I mean, so it's exciting to see people get their grade. I mean, that's the thing. This week I told you about Kirby Dream Land 3. It went to someone whose collections could be in probably for a lifetime, and I was, glad to see that. So,
I mean, maybe
um,
someone will pry it from him, but they're not going to pry it from him with like a 2x bid.
yeah,
Like whatever he paid for it, it's not going to be a 2x bid. You're going to have to take him a 5x bid or a 10x bid if you want to get it from him. And so that naturally drives the price up. And I've been saying this for a while is like, we were purging like people got scared, people started dumping games, we were purging stuff. And it got overdone, and now all the stuff is getting snatched up. You're not going to see a lot of the same grails come to market, in my opinion. You're going to see less of the big stuff, and I think we've already seen Heritage on it. I mean, I think it's taken. I haven't seen a whole lot coming out of there lately. So
it's an interesting time where you see a lot more. Maybe I'm wrong. I see a lot going to eBay, but it's more the stuff that's
yeah,
more common. I'm not saying it's valuable stuff, but it's more common. Like there's. I'm trying to think of
there's a few
like
things
some.
going on in like the private networks, but I just think there's a lot less on the high end. There's a lot less moving because people aren't willing to sell at these levels, which is
Well, that's
good.
true. There's. I mean, how many people can afford spending 20, 30, $50,000? A lot of those people are not in it right now. Like there's a lot of big buyers that stepped away, and it's
True.
that market is a little bit that's tougher, and It's probably going to be that way for a while. I think for a while. I hope I'm wrong. I
I
love
mean,
upload feature.
160,000 Zelda says otherwise, man. I don't know. There's
Yeah.
buyers out there.
Well, there's always buyers for the top
No, but I
thing.
mean, there's some big buy. I mean, there's some big numbers coming out. I don't fully. I mean, I get I get the Zelda Ocarina. I don't always understand the numbers. Like I don't like certain stuff sells, and I'm like, why that? Like of all the things that have sold cheap, why that one thing did you guys go ape shit on? But it happens.
Well, I
So
think, a big thing I look at is things that are one of one almost. Like a 10 is
sure,
something you can't beat. And where a lot of people probably kind of regret certain buys is when they bought something that wasn't one of one, and then the next one
right.
comes in lower, lower,
But
lower. So
something that's
I think
too more plentiful than what they thought. Like the
exactly.
like the
So
one like the Mario 64.
the Mario 64 is a great example. A lot, there's tons of games. I mean, look at the Left Bros, how it performed. It's a great game,
Left Bros is
but I think that
complex. Left Bros is so complicated. That's a whole nother can of
yeah.
worms.
But I think if you get stuff that's truly top of pop, it has no ceiling. You do have those buyers. You're completely right. But some of the mid or more mid range or something that you might be able to have another opportunity
Well,
for,
you have
I
the
do.
speculators with money step away.
Yeah.
I think all the people who are really committed are there. I think there's new people stepping up in there. And I honestly, personally, I think the prices are pushing up a little bit. I could
Mhm.
be wrong. It could just be my eternal optimism. But I see stuff being bought. I mean, I'm selling stuff. I see stuff being bought. And it looks to me like things are pushing up because people are starting to, I feel I feel like people are starting to sense that there's not as much going around. Like there really hasn't been any excitement on Heritage. Like you said, there hasn't been any excitement on eBay. I think there's been a lack of excitement, and so when people see stuff that's exciting now, they're like, "Oh shit, I may not get another chance at this," and they're right.
Right now, I gotta say I feel bad because buddy Mike's in here, and I have a painting of his by he did Earthworm Jim. I feel bad I don't have the Earthworm Jim painting behind me right now, but good to see you, Mike. No, I agree with you. It's collectibles is always going to be on. The thing is, it's every day more stuff's going in and out. It means the market's there is solidifying itself, and people get.
Right.
I think it's a positive. And I think it's a positive at least. So, hopefully, people are enjoying it. Even if you could get some grails during this time, that's great.
There's a lot. I'm telling you, there's a lot of new people. There's a lot of people who in the week last week alone, last couple weeks, last couple months, have said, oh, you recently gave me my first graded game, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was your first game, or like, oh, that's. So there's people who are getting in, and there's people who are seeing the value, and to me. It's a good chance to get in while you kind of know you have comps for much, much higher, a series of comps for much, much higher. But you kind of know that things have have been hits, so it's a good time to buy. You want to buy when things are down.
Well, I just want to show this if Mike still does. This is one of Mike's stuff back in 94,
Nice.
95. So I don't have my Earthworm gems too far away from me. So thank you, Mike. This was in a magazine he used. Yeah, no, I mean, all collectible markets are interesting because it's all kind of, no market's not affected, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's not just video games, it's comic books, it's sports cards. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm
It
never
seems like
gonna.
cards have been doing a little bit better too. Seems like comics have been doing. I could be. I mean, again, I could be wrong. It seems like all the places I've been looking have had a slight tick up. Maybe not huge, but it seems like there's people shopping for things.
Mhm. Yeah, again, I completely agree that there has been recently a little bit. I've noticed more activity. So why is Pokemon so popular? Millions of people play it, I guess.
Because it's by far the biggest franchise in the
Um,
world by a factor of
yeah,
three.
I've never really got into it. My kid wants to still dress up as Pikachu for Halloween, so it's still doing okay. But
I no, I don't know anything about Pokemon. I don't buy Pokemon because I don't know it, but it is the biggest franchise by far across the world. There's more followers and more devoted Pokemon fans than any other Mickey Mouse, Star Wars, anything by far.
Yeah.
It's just the numbers don't lie.
Yeah. No, it's pretty
You
insane.
don't fight
Uh,
Pokemon.
you don't fight. You know what, and that's the thing is, that's it's always gonna be popular. It seems like, and
Yeah.
Pokemon's one of those things that I didn't play as a kid, and I kind of regret it because, obviously it was fun,
Dude,
but
I've heard about
uh,
people getting fired over Pokemon and stuff. When Pokemon Go was big, people were like leaving the office to go catch Pokemon out in like the city and shit. It was crazy. People go nuts over that stuff, even adults who played it.
yeah, no, I mean it's a good franchise, and luckily Nintendo's owned it the whole time, and good for them.
Good for
Chase for some new video games.
Nintendo, yeah. Good for. I mean, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, I think probably next week, probably Wednesday, you'll get your cassette in, and I look forward.
Do you want to
I just to
show
bring
off
this
the
back to
case a little bit? You want to describe it to us a little bit?
it's polycarbonate, two pieces. There's a bottom thing and a top piece. Um, so this is made out of polycarbonate. That's why a lot of our products take a year or two to actually just get the case done.
Right.
You could throw this on the ground. It's not gonna, you know, this thing's, these don't move for the most part. We made sure the blister inside fits perfectly. These are tabs in the front. There's two in the back as well. When you
You can
try to
show
open it, if
the
you,
label closer.
yeah,
It's nice.
oh
Look at
yeah,
that.
you
Everything you want to see on a label.
and honestly, these are done by hand. We actually started doing
Oh wow.
yeah. So we used to go through a company, but we spent the money on the machine. So and then we put interesting facts on the back here. So
Oh,
yeah, like this was certified 3 times platinum, which means sold over 3 million records and other interesting stuff. But to me, this is a passion of love, and on the bottom as well, you see our
I
logo,
mean,
and that's where it.
your cases are. Honestly, I think your cases are better than Juana's. I was trying to find my. I got one from you. I got Weekend at Bernie's, and I've got it somewhere here, but I'm not sure where I put it. And because it's not for sale, it might be upstairs, in fact. But the cases are just so well done. They're so. The thing I like about Wada's new case, the thing I don't like about Wada's new case is this lip at the top and the bottom, which like yours doesn't have. It's just straight flush down. Like imagine this without these lips. It's really compact and really smooth and really like done exactly the way. And you guys did a great job. And like that's what I say, you guys did just. It was weird because you guys both came out at like the same time. Like the new cases
I was
were
wondering if
announced.
people thought we were gonna like. I'm like, this thing wasn't developed for like 2 years. I'm not even kidding. Like it took so
Oh,
long.
it takes
I
forever
had a
for it
feeling
to
like people were
develop.
thinking we might rip them off or something. I'm like, no, the thing I like what we really did is the thickness of this polycarbonate is really
Yeah,
thick. So
yeah,
like
it
if
is.
you feel it compared to other cases,
It's
it's your
solid.
money's worth. I mean,
It's really
yeah.
solid.
And to me, it's just as a collector, like most people, I'm guess watching. To me, it's so important to feel comfortable that once it's in there, it's good. It's good to go. And
Yeah,
to me, like I started this because of the thought of, well, how would I want it done? So that's why we had
yes.
someone earlier today that tried to get a hold of other companies, and they emailed us at like 8:30 in the morning. We got back to him a few minutes, and then he was on the phone with us within an hour. He was like, he was really impressed. I'm like, well, that's how I'd want it to be.
Right,
Like it's
right.
that. I mean, it's just as simple as like, how do you want to be treated? I get, it's just basic human, interaction.
If you want to be successful in business, this is what I tell people. If you want to be successful in business, you have to do everything the way that you would want it done if you were on the receiving end, and then you have to do better. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't do that, to me, I don't think you have a shot. I don't think any company has a long-term shot if you don't do things the way you would want done and then try to do it even better than that. Because, like, at the end of the day, like that's all repeat customers are your lifeblood, right? Like if you get someone who submits a one time, it's great and you're happy to get new customers, but like the people who like come back and like shop with you all the time are like the ones that keep the lights on, right?
Yeah.
And so
Oh, definitely.
it's important that people recognize that and um shoot to try to do things. I mean, perfection is not necessarily like you have to settle for not being perfect, but you have to shoot for
Oh yeah.
perfection.
You always have to evolve.
Yeah,
You always have to be willing to, take the hit and keep pushing forward. And,
yeah,
it's not always easy. Sometimes we have to tell clients that something they gave us isn't legit. And
yeah,
sometimes they'll send it to other companies and then they'll pass. And we're like, well, doesn't mean, and we're like, the thing is, we're here to do it right.
yeah.
We're not, to us, it's not about trying to make a lot of money quick. It's about being here for 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 years. And every day, this week, I don't know if you saw, we announced Quinn Tallman joined our team. He's
Oh,
works
nice.
for Rewind now. And, all this is commitment to people that have values that want to do this right. They see that this is something that, that it's more than myself is what I'd
Right.
say. Rewind has its values, and like to me, it's important that in 5 years from now, you can look back and be like, oh, he wasn't full of shit,
They really
So
did do this right. Like, other people have tried and failed, or other people have not done it as well. But yeah, like you guys, came out like, firing on all pistons.
yeah, and what, and also the other thing is we're not going to sit here and just be here for a few minutes to pick up the phones, and then in 6 months we don't pick up the phones.
Right.
We've all been that with companies, and we all know when you can't get a hold of someone in the company, you don't know who works there or how they even, if they even know what the heck they're talking about, right?
Right.
So that's important to, it's important that, we have some of the best people working in our companies. I swear, I'm very fortunate to have some amazing people every day
Is
that
your
I
name
get.
even Dan?
Yeah, no. I mean, like I think Frank just joined in. Frank's one of the pillars of the company who does a lot of the VHS, helps us with VHS, and Callum, who's just an amazing guy. Quentin's involvement, and it's the values. It really comes down to the values of each person and what they want out of a solid company. And it
Yeah.
really is a shitload of work every day. Like that's the
Every
crazy
day.
thing.
Yeah.
Like, what up, Frank? Yeah, no, it's crazy because like people like think it's like we just snap together two cases, but the amount of work that goes into one piece, and sometimes like
And the amount of
most of the
research that went into that case, and the amount of money that went into the case, and the amount of man hours, and all the stuff, and it's just. But people also think, oh, you throw up a game and you have all these games, you just sell them, and that's it. Like they magically restock themselves and stuff. Like
well, that's the thing, and the funny thing to me, I'd love to be on the other side. I have been on the other side where you can just submit something, get it back, and it's like, wow,
yeah,
it's done. And that's what I want to create for these markets that didn't have that. When I saw VHS, I was like, hey, there's. I felt they needed a solid company that had the best interests of the collectors, and I saw that for music, and music's always been my passion. So, I wanted to give that experience that I had in other collectibles to these new markets. And I think we're doing that well and continue to build on it. And it's not an easy road. It's true. There's a lot of ways to make money. This is not one of them so far, but I wouldn't change it for the world because it's the right way. It's it'll probably be 2 or 3 years till we break a penny, profit. But to me, it's going to be
I
worth
mean,
it.
Amazon took like 10 or 20 years or something like that. So
Well, also the thing is, I always say is like, I'm the only owner, so we don't have to cut corners, or if you have a question, you ask me, you ask the company. We don't bounce around and kind of like, oh well, the lawyers are saying this, or the
right,
the owner,
you don't have to
we,
go through a million layers of like, well, let me ask my supervisor, who's got to ask his supervisor, and then we'll ask the COO, and
yeah.
and they'll email the owner and see if he's not on vacation, and
Well, it's funny because I mean, every conversation we have is trying to give a better experience to the clients and
sure,
getting new people in the hobby, trying to figure out the convention schedule coming up for next year. And I mean, there is multiple of us working 40 hours a week just to make sure that something that looks as simple, like it looks simple. I mean,
I don't know
it's
if it looks
crazy.
simple. That looks like
Well, yeah, like it's I mean, it's really a passion project for all of us, and and it's important that it's that we want to do it right, and that's
right,
going to take a long time, you know, when we got into VHS, I think the minimum price was 100 something bucks. You know,
Yeah,
and we came in, we made it 35 bucks. You know, we're just like, screw it. You know, eventually we made 35 bucks and got everyone else to lower their prices. We're cheap. We're
yeah.
even cheaper than like the big name company.
How
You
much
know,
is it
uh,
now to submit a VHS tape?
to to us,
Yeah, to you,
30,
to you guys.
35 bucks.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
even
cheap.
cassettes, even cassettes and CDs are
That's
35 bucks.
really cheap.
No,
How do you do? I mean, you can't. 35 bucks.
35 bucks. We
I think to grade a toy at VGA or CAS now is $125 to $150 for the grading fee.
Yeah, no, and honestly, you're gonna ask how do we make a profit? We don't. You know, that's the thing is, and like we run it for the long haul. You know,
Yeah,
it sounds crazy, but like you know, it's we're doing it at the lowest price we pretty much can do it, just so as many people can experience it, get into the hobby. Because these hobbies, even VHS, are so young, and you know, I always wanted to think that people could get something graded, buy something, get something graded for under 100 bucks, and definitely you could do that in all three of our verticals so far.
yeah.
Um, you know, it's important.
It's yeah. I mean, when I first started grading with VGA, and this is like before WADA was ever conceived of, it would take me about 2 months, 2 to 3 months return time, and I would pay. I think landed. I was somewhere between 43 and $50 typically landed. And the interesting part of that is that they basically, when they went through 2021, they basically like tripled their prices. And I think now they're back down, but they're still about double where we were when we started this. And you know, to come in to have that quality of case that you guys provide, that I know I've seen myself. I like
Mhm.
for $35. That's a pretty, you know, landed. Let's say landed. It's 40 to $45 landed. You know, with shipping, maybe even $50 landed at most. But still, I mean, that's like the price that I was paying for VGA service back when I first started this.
Yeah, I
So
mean to me it's getting these in people's hands. That's I mean, we've only been open for music for I don't even know 2 months. I don't. It's really everything. It seems like a
yeah.
lifetime ago. I mean, I've actually had a kid since then, so life just goes by, keeps going on. But
Oh, that's right. You got five now,
I
right?
got five
You got a
now. You know, I collect kids.
basketball team. And Mama
Yeah, you know,
Goose, I don't know what he means, but I'm not sure, Mama Goose.
but you know, the thing to me is just that people can experience it. You know, to and you know, I'm not going to try to compare these to other collectibles and say you know,
I
it's
think
just
you
that
should. I
people.
mean, I think it's irrelevant. I mean, what's the difference between, you know, comic books and music? I mean, they're both so the experience, right? It's a very relevant connection.
Yeah, no, and we're here to keep it honest because at one point, you know, that's with all these verticals we're getting into. You know, we're not going to jump to 150 bucks out of nowhere. You know, that's the problem. I kind of worry about some of the
35
verticals.
bucks though, dude. That's really cheap for grading fees. Like coins start at like 35 bucks, 20 to 30. Like ancient coins, for example, 35 bucks not, and that's without grading. That's a certification. Like encapsulation. And they're freaking they're this big.
Yeah.
This costs oh no, this is graded too. So this costs like $40 or $45 to do. That's yours is cheaper than that. Like that's pretty significant. It's a much bigger
Yeah,
product.
we want people to get in and be able to create a product, try it out, and like you know, make a collection because I mean, no one wants to collect something that they can't buy. You'll find stuff they like and afford
Yeah.
it. So, you know, it's really cool when people submit stuff and they almost get to submit 3 items for almost 100 bucks. I mean, we get
Yeah.
people because people don't think about it. That's the beauty of people actually that have some of the stuff. They've
Right.
been submitting 20, 30. You know, when it comes to VHS, sometimes we get an order of 100 in. You know,
Hmm.
and it's because of the price, right? And we know for the service to have literally you have two people always look at every single item and how long these actually take to make. It is the best deal ever,
It's
but you know it's
a really good deal.
but like the thing that's fun to me is like just seeing these out and they have their own life is amazing. I'm very excited that you know again this is just the beginning of us too because you know we just hired on
It's,
Quinn
it's a, $80 right there. Like that's like $80. Like I don't got $35, dude. I'm blown away.
Yeah, I mean, once it gets over $1,000, we charge the 2%. But with
Yeah,
cassettes,
sure.
there's very few that
But
are
I
over
mean,
a thousand
still,
bucks. So most items, that's very rarely happened. I think we just had an item someone submitted that was 10 grand this week. But when it comes, there's like very few items. But to me, it's just really cool that it's the palm of your hand. A lot of people don't realize cassettes, the size of it is the exact same size as a pack of cigarettes. Not that anybody smokes anymore,
it
but
actually kind of looks like a deck of cards. Or actually, what I was thinking before is it looks like a cassette tape.
yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is it's built for it. So we don't multi-purpose most of our, this was made to make the normal cassette look the best it possibly can.
It's like a
So
coffee table books about about coffee tables.
yeah, exactly. So we're gonna start encapsulating coffee tables. No. But no, it's fun, man. I mean, I always appreciate you having me on because I feel like it feels like a long time. It probably has been like 6 months, but it feels like the world's flipped over a few
I
times.
mean, I feel like these days I feel like a month like flies by, and yet like when I look back a month ago, it seems like 3 years
Yeah.
ago.
Well, it's just
It's like
funny because
crazy.
it's funny to even think like the beginning of this year and to think of video game market and all that kind of stuff and how much changes. It's just so much but how much better.
2022 was a roller coaster. I honestly I hope we never see the magnitude of volatility in any collectibles market that we saw in 2022 or 2021. Like both of those years, just like it shot up real fast and it shot down even faster. Like
Yeah, I
crazy.
felt that, and there's people that bought on the wrong side of that and that's never,
I
we want
bought some
people to get in.
stuff on the wrong side of it. I mean, probably a lot of people did.
Yeah, no, and you know, it's like everything, you want people to have a great experience and even I'm sure as you as a seller, you want people that buy from you to have a good
Of
experience. You don't want them not to,
course.
so
It
to have
was
a bad
easy in
experience.
2020 because everything I sold they would make money on. So like I could literally sell them, virtually anything. I'm like a month from now it's going to be worth 10% more, 20% more, and like it was true.
Mhm.
It was true. It just kept being true.
Yeah, I mean I mean this is the other side, and the people that get through it on this side probably will be in it for the long haul. A lot of people come and go, and I know me and you've both seen people that are in hobbies that in this hobby that come and go.
People
But
jump ship. I mean, there were a lot of people who just wanted to make a few bucks. Maybe they even thought that maybe they were bona fide and interested first, but like after the money left, they fizzled. Their interest fizzled too. So.
yeah, I mean it's going to be interesting to see what comes to market. I mean, I know myself, like I'd love to get a Mega Man 1. I don't think I will be able to because I don't think that thing's ever getting my range. But
I have one on my shelf. You want to grab it? You want to grab this right now? We can do a claim sale right
is there a
now.
90% off discount? Sure. Um, yeah, I know yours is beautiful, man. That's
Where did I? Well, I got one of them redone, and they knocked me on the grade.
oh,
Um,
ouch.
it was originally a VGA 85. It crossed over the first time to an 8.0 A plus, which should have been an 8.5 A plus. Then they regraded it. It got regraded as an 80 plus, and then got regraded again as a 7.5 A plus most recently.
Wow. I
So
mean, you keep going this way, it might end up at a 2.0.
I might, if I keep going, it's going to be a 6.0 B. But I don't
Well,
know. So
I mean, the good thing about Mega Man 1s and some of these games is like they're not growing on trees. And honestly, I've only seen a few in the last few years. And even in this time period, even so like myself, I have not been able to acquire one or see one, even have that dip, which I would love for it to do.
there's
But
I've never, knock on wood, I have not seen Mega Man 1 dip in this. I shouldn't say it out loud, but like, again, knock on wood a couple times. It's one of there's a few games like I haven't really seen Metroid or Contra take. I mean, Contra was so high though. So high. I mean,
I don't even know where that would go right now. And it's kind of hard to know. Metroid, I've seen a little bit of a dip in the eight to nine
the
range
The
because
oval seals I've seen dip, but I have the round seals I haven't. The round seals haven't come to market. They just haven't come up.
Yeah, I mean, I do think if you had a hang tap and it wasn't top of pop, it would have a hard time living up to expectation. But everything would. There's not much that in that price range that would not have a hard
I,
time because
I
of
think if you had the top of the pop hang tap, I think it would do
oh
incredible.
yeah, no,
I
I
actually
mean
think someone would get fought for.
I mean you top of pop with any game like that, there is no ceiling to me. Like when it comes to Metroid hang tab, I mean, I don't if there was a 988 plus plus, I mean I still think it'd go for 500,000. I mean, I just,
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say because it's such a it's. I can't even
I mean,
imagine. I can't
I
even
hate throwing
imagine
out
that.
numbers like that because I know people, we all throw out numbers in 2021 that
Well, it's
way.
hard to imagine any hang tab having an A plus plus. I've never heard of
100%.
such a thing, but like
But that's
it could.
the
I mean,
thing, the
at
top
that
of
point, it could
pop.
get a million. I don't know.
But that's the funny thing is, I think if you saw a 9.2 hang tab, it might go for like 25. But like, that's where I think the market, you get the stuff that
I don't
the
think
top
so.
people are going to battle, they go off. I think that mid range, I don't mean mid range condition wise,
An eight
but those ones.
five maybe, an 8.5 maybe. I think a 9.2 you'd still see big numbers. I mean, the thing about the Ocarina is Ocarina has a big pop out there, right? Like Ocarina is
But it's
not a
the only
hard.
10. There's no 9.8s. There's 6.9, 6.8 plus pluses.
Wait,
So
there's no 9.8s. I thought there were 9.8s.
not as far as I know, there's no 9.8s. I know this because
There's
I
definitely
own a 9.8.
VGA 95s though. We know of those.
Yes.
So
So,
there's
but
definitely, and Ocarina is a much more widespread game. I mean, the numbers are just much, much larger. Like the idea that there's another 10 out there is a very, you
but
know,
here's the thing:
eh,
no one's going to be able to beat that person. They have a 10.
true,
So
true,
that's
true.
the thing. If
But
you have
100,
the
but
top,
156,000 for that extra notch up, that extra point two or whatever.
but that person has the best Ocarina of Time of all
They
time
do,
with
they
fun.
do.
So that's I think that difference of having the undisputed top of condition
Listen, I'm
has no
sure a
limit.
9.8 would have been half of that. So at 150, that's 160. A 9.8 A plus plus would have been 80,
I don't
and a
disagree.
9.6 A plus plus might have been 30. I don't know.
You know what's funny? 9.6 A plus plus. I think we'll see. I mean, I think there's one coming to market, a thing, but I mean, it went for 15. I know because I bought one back, the thing, and then it dropped down. I think we saw one sell for 9 at one point. And to see the 10 go for 150 is like, a big swing up. So hopefully it keeps continuing.
I'll,
It was a great
I'll bet
sell.
we see at least. I bet we see. I mean, I bet we see at least 20. If not, I bet we see probably 30 or more. Probably around 30. Probably right around 30 on a 9.6 A plus plus right now. That's my
Yeah, it'll
guess.
be fun to see. I mean, yeah, very curious on the 968 plus plus. Golden might have my copy coming up in this upcoming auction, maybe. Just
Which is
might
the same
happen.
grade.
968 plus plus. Not a 10. I don't get
Is it a
10s.
collector's edition or is it the first? Is it the standard print?
Collectors.
Okay.
So
Because the standard print would also garnish a little bit more.
yeah, no, I agree with that. And no, I just want to be transparent. It's like one of those uncomfortable things to admit, but I'm like, I don't want to talk about a game and then not, if I have one coming to market, but I have 2 copies and that's my better copy, but I don't need the top, second highest grade. So,
See, that's the
um,
thing that sucks is I always get enticed to like if something's like too high of a grade, I always get enticed to sell that one and then hopefully find another one in lower condition that I can
well,
keep.
that's what happened to me. I actually have a really, an 80 plus I really like, and I wasn't looking and I just got, during an auction, I don't usually buy big items, but I did buy that one in auction. And after this one sold, I'm like, yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah,
I have a few items that I would like to buy instead. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
yeah.
I mean, it's fun. I still enjoy, video games on both sides, buying and selling. And I still got to get my Mega Man 1 and my Zelda Circle Seal. So
And I need I need my Ready to Die and chronic tapes.
yeah, me too. I
Yeah,
mean, that's, yeah, no, the Ready Die is probably my favorite. Chronic, probably number 2. And no one made
I would
Chronic.
do a reverse, but
Oh,
actually
yeah, it's,
I don't know if Ready to Die would be my number two, but chronic would probably be my number one tape to get.
yeah, um, there's some tapes like Sublime and stuff that I really enjoyed finding, and like these things, some of them are just
I
not
mean,
bad.
All Eyes on Me would be a pretty cool. That's a two tape set,
Two
right?
tape. That one's not as sure as those other ones. I just want to be,
Yeah,
that
yeah. But
one.
it would be for me. That would be cool. That would be cool to own
Yeah,
because I don't know. That
no,
was
I like to like, I know, some of the stuff goes for thousands. If All Eyes on Me, I think could be had for 400 or 500 bucks.
right.
Um,
I'm sure some of his older stuff is probably more rare and harder to get and more expensive. But
yeah.
All Eyes on Me for me was probably around the age when I started
Oh
listening
yeah.
to Tupac. So
Yeah. No, I just being honest for what I've seen over the last few years, because some of the stuff like No Inmates is extremely rare.
is
No Inmates Chronic.
are singles like a single of like Brenda's Got a Baby? Is that like there's probably singles of that? Is that like those must be like super expensive, right?
I mean, we've seen singles do okay. Golden's had a few of them. Golden has an auction
I
going
would
on
think
right
those would
now.
be rarer because like how many people bought a single and didn't open it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's
Be
the hard thing.
relying on new old stock, which like I feel like probably just got distributed, like given away. They were so cheap.
Well, that's the thing, and like there is stores that go under, and I know, there's a store in New York that I got to deal with, and they had a bunch of old stock. They didn't have any hip hop, but it was cool to see. And that's what happens. Sometimes the stuff got really boxed up and just put away.
Right.
Um,
And then
Kind of
there's
like
too
video
much of
games.
it.
Well, it's like video games where there's those stories of why did this survive? Why did someone have something they didn't open? Now, music was cheaper.
Atari, there's huge quantities of certain Atari. It doesn't happen as much with NES, but there's Atari's got like I've seen disgusting Atari's bad.
Well, Atari, they were just overproducing it like galore, and that
Well, it
like
didn't sell. The problem was that is it failed and it didn't sell. They took it
exactly.
all off the market and it was just
There was
collapsed.
it,
But it's not
82
typically
video game
like
crash.
that.
Yeah, and that led to that's why Nintendo, when they launched it, wasn't called a video game system. It's an entertainment system because they didn't want
Right.
the stigma of video games, and that's why their covers were not artworks. They literally tried to make it look like the video game, was because Atari oversold with the artwork, and they were trying to do the opposite. So there's a lot of great things that came out of it. I mean, that's why those black boxes, as they're just iconic because of how almost crappy they look. Like, like I have a gumshoe over here I'm looking at, or a wrecking crew. I mean the black looks amazing, but like the actual like artwork is like it's not overselling it.
Well,
That's for sure.
they definitely changed when by the time they got to Chippendales
I'm gonna
too.
grab them. Oh yeah, no, definitely.
So it's showing off this guy before.
Yeah, no. The guess funny because one of the artists that did a lot of the Disney stuff is a friend of mine, and yeah, they went with those styles for Disney, and yeah, I was just looking at this while we're talking, and
Love
why
that.
I love the colors. I mean, look how goofy that guy looks. Definitely, they were not trying to oversell this guy, you know, but yeah, I love the colors
Yeah.
of
That's
Gumshoe.
qualified 85 plus.
Yeah, that means it's not sealed. I'm not a video game millionaire. Sorry,
It's
but
a yeah, but it's still a nice copy.
oh yeah, this one of those ones I got in a deal, and I've just always held on to because I just thought it looked amazing. That was before having CIBs was cool again. Um,
Well,
so
now you're a CIB. Now you're a CIB
I got
thousandaire
some.
at least.
I'm gonna show you some cool ones because I have them next to me. But this is my favorite CIB just because it's Mario, but it's not a hang tab, but it's a 9.6.
That's nice. Oh, and it's in the seal. See
Yeah, I
that I
bought
like
this.
it a lot when CIBs have the seal on them at least. Like you really just got one that was open to be inspected.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny during the last 3 years when I came across a really high grade CIB. I didn't have any intention to sell them. It just wasn't. It was just like, oh, they kind of feel like too cool. So
Yeah.
I held on to them. I got a few others I can.
See, I dumped all my CIBs, and now I wish I hadn't. But
Yeah, Ghostbusters. Some reason I just the black covers.
yeah, I love that one. That wow, 9.6. Holy shit, that's super
Yeah, I
super
use the
cool.
9.4
Now,
Lemmings.
interesting thing about that game, the the Ghostbusters is actually rarer in the oval seal than it is in the round seal because the oval seal was such a limited production, and then it stopped being produced.
Yeah, I got lucky on picking up a few of these. I mean, the only one I really spent up, I bought this one off of Golden, but that was that first auction when no one could bid, and I think I
Oh
got it for
yeah.
like fucking
Dude, I won a
yeah.
bunch of stuff in that auction. I won it in extended bidding, and they gave it to the person who won before extended bidding. I've never seen something happen like that.
Oh,
I had stuff I think I could sign to that auction. I was so mad.
yeah, I mean it happens. That sucks, man. I mean, yeah, I mean that's you trying to hold on to the stuff that you think's unique, and that's where I held on to those all those years. I mean, these few years is it's the stuff I thought was special, and even like this Gumshoe, it's not my favorite game, but just it looks dope. It
I
I try to hold on to
mean, the
stuff that
85 plus gold grade doesn't look too shabby either.
no, and it was like this week I had a Darkwing Duck for Turbo Graphics,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, I didn't even know. You know what? Those some of those games you just hold on to, and you buy them because you like them, and
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. But yeah, to go back, music's cool.
Synchonia.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Go back. I'll go back to that every like 10 minutes. But you get me going on video games. I mean, I still have all the stuff that you'll see behind me. I have my artwork. That's all. The
Yeah, it's
artist
sick,
who did
man.
that one for me. Mega Man over here. If you look, actually, that's a Mega Man helmet, and then the scenery. So I don't know if you can see right there. There's a helmet.
Trying to. Oh, I can't move the chat. I was thinking it was
Oh,
on whatnot.
it's too big of a painting. That painting's
Oh,
like three
it's
by
fine.
three,
I can
but
kind of see it. It's
where my hand is, it's all scenery
yeah,
right
I kind
there.
of see it. I got to
Do you
move the.
remember the
I got to
end?
move the chat.
Do you
I got
remember
it.
the
I
end
can
of
see
Mega Man
it.
2?
Yeah.
Do you remember the end of Mega Man 2? That's basically you see his helmet and you see a scenery over the town. That's what the idea of it. That painting is a friend of mine, and that's a huge painting. That's why I'm not getting up to move it. It's
Sure.
3 feet by 3 feet. So I had him painted of the Mega Man 2 where his helmet's there. It's like after he, saved the day, and then there's a peaceful town below.
I don't think
So,
I've ever beaten Mega Man 2, so
if you have a Switch, do the Genesis emulator, and then the Wily Wars. I'm actually first time playing that in a few months. I'm playing that right now.
oh,
So
that's awesome.
yeah. So not Street Fighter. A friend of mine, Mick McGinty, did the original. I had him recreate that one for me. Unfortunately, he passed away last year, but luckily he painted that nice little piece for me. And there goes my phone. But no, yeah. I always again every time I decorate an office or a room, I always make sure there's video games near me at all times.
Well, that's awesome, man.
So
I know it's getting late for a lot of people. I mean, we've been going for a while, so I guess we'll wrap up and have to do this again. There's obviously we could probably keep going for 2 more hours, but we'll leave them. Maybe we can get back on it next week or something. But I hope everybody enjoyed this. And Dan, thank you for teaching
my
us all about
pleasure.
the music industry and music grading.
I forgot to show like System of a Down, but
What?
System of a Down.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if some people
I
like them
still love
better.
the style of your cases. You guys really knocked it out of the park. So
Thanks. Yeah, no, honestly, this was probably the one I was most looking forward to, just because it felt like it'd be perfect. And yeah, you'll have one in your hands in the next 5 days or so. So,
I'll tell
um,
you what, I'll get it, and maybe we can jump back on and talk some more collectibles at that point, and
sounds
I'll show it
great.
off. And
Well, you have a good rest, and I know it's late there, so
yeah, I mean, I work all the time, so I've got to go back to work essentially, shipping orders and stuff. But it's good. There's a lot of good stuff out there. I hope people are getting out there and getting the stuff that they love. And if you get music or movies, definitely go see Dan. If you get games, you want to sell them to me, and then I'll sell them to Dan. Uh, no, but yeah, our artwork and all this stuff. And he's a good guy just to, if you just want to, ask collectible questions, he knows a lot about a lot of
always
stuff.
around.
So
Next week we're gonna see, Dave's gonna have like 100 of these behind them, and
honestly, that's how rabbit holes started. I was, I didn't. a couple months ago I didn't collect coins, and now this is my life.
Yeah,
So
you know, that's dope.
it is what it
Honestly,
is.
that's one thing I've never collected, but honestly, I have so much respect for it. So, bullion currency, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's we could talk about that another time, but it's
Next time, yeah.
another rabbit hole. So
Well, have a good rest of the day. Thanks for having me.
yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate everybody for watching back at home, and Dan, thank you for coming on, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and go to rewindgrading.com. Check it out. Even if you don't want to submit something, just go check out their website, and give them a follow or whatever on here and anywhere else. So,
Thanks again, everyone.
all right,
See you soon.
cheers, guys.
Late.
All right, peace.